Very Reverend Father Timothy Nectario Papazakiropoulos, Dean of St. Demetrius Cathedral, Reverend Clergy of St. Demetrius Cathedral, Protopresbyteros Father John Andonopoulos, and Presbyteros Father Anastasios Kourakis. Honorable Council of Greece, Mr. Emmanuel Parakis. Dr. Ioannis Eftimiopoulos, National Director of Greek Education of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. Mrs. Maria Makedon, Director of the Diocesan District Office of Education and Special Projects. Dr. William J. Tennant, Medical Director of New York University, Langone Cardiovascular Associates, and this evening's keynote speaker. Honorable Mr. Michael Genaris, representing New York State Senate. Honorable Ms. Arabella Simotas, representing the New York State Assembly. Dr. Apostolos Kambakis of the Hellenic Medical Society. Dr. George Zikeas, President of the Hellenic Medical Society. Ms. Margot Galson, representing the Hellenic University Club of New York. Ms. Nancy Ioannou, President of Atlantic Bank NYCB. Mr. Andrew Lagos, Esquire. Mr. Emmanuel Pizza, St. Demetrius Cathedral Parish Council President. Mr. Nick A. Andriotis, St. Demetrius School Board Chairperson. Mr. Anastasios Koulamani, Supervising Principal of the St. Demetrius School System. Mrs. Betsy Suderis, Assistant Principal of the St. Demetrius Lower Elementary School. Mr. Timoleo Guardios, Principal of the St. Demetrius Afternoon School. Dr. Maria Sprogerecas, President of the St. Demetrius School PTA. Mrs. Angela Captain, representing the Afternoon School PTA. Mr. James Narcopides of the St. Demetrius Alumni Association, members of the St. Demetrius Parish Council and its board, Mrs. Martina Vanotis, President of the St. Demetrius Philosopher at St. Catherine, distinguished faculty, members of the press, proud parents, honored guests, dearest graduates. Welcome to the commencement ceremony for the class of 2000. This evening, we celebrate the achievements and success of 40 young Greek Americans who have only begun to make our community proud. The St. Demetrius School System has a rich history of educating children, not only academically, but also spiritually and socially. For close to 60 years, this school has motivated your children, our children, the children of the Omogeia, to become the best and brightest. They enter colleges, universities, and later the workforce with a strong foundation that allows them to make our society a better place and the Greek American community a force of power and fortitude in the United States. The majority of this year's senior class have been students of the St. Demetrius School System since pre-kindergarten, a tradition that they will hopefully one day keep with their own children. But the class of 2015 is also unique in that it welcomed many students in the later high school years. These young men and women quickly became part of the St. Demetrius family and helped to enrich our school with their spirit of volunteerism, academic and athletic excellence, and their overwhelming love for the school. We thank them and we thank their parents for entrusting their education to our school. The class of 2015, the young men and women seated on the stage, are filled with a lot of hope and yet some anxiety. They will leave St. Demetrius taking with them knowledge, faith, and the will to succeed. They will also be taking with them the love and blessings of the entire St. Demetrius community. Success does not come without leadership, and the class of 2015 and our school in general would not have been able to excel this year without the strength and leadership of our supervising principal, Mr. Anastasios Koulamani. His dedication to our school and to our students is evident on a daily basis. He can be a father figure, a brother, or a friend, depending on the crisis of the day. I welcome Mr. Anastasios Koulamani to give the presentation.
Θέλω πρώτα να σας ευχαριστήσω όλους εδώ που βρίσκεστε μαζί μας να γιορτάσουμε την φετινή αποτίμηση του Λυκείου. Είναι μεγάλη μου χαρά, είναι η 16η αποτίμηση που γιορτάζω εγώ σήμερα. και είναι όχι μόνο περήφανος, αλλά ευχαριστημένος και είμαι στεναχωρημένος να φύγουν τα παιδιά, γιατί τα βλέπουν στα δικά μου, αλλά ξέρω ότι θα πάνε σε πιο ανώτερα πράγματα, θα γυρίσουν πίσω να βοηθήσουν το σχολείο, να συνεχίσει το έργο, να προοδεύσει η Ελλάδα, ο πολιτισμός, η γλώσσα, η κουλτούρα και η θρησκεία μας. Plato has divided the soul into parts: eros, desire, and themos, a hunger for recognition. Themos is what motivates the best and worst things we do. It drives us to seek glory and assert ourselves. It drives us to rage if others don't recognize our work. I believe that the St. Demetrius community is truly respected of the thematic of St. Demetrius. We provide each other the recognition for which Plato says we all hunger for. Each individual student has the experience of being acknowledged and appreciated for the particular and unique quality of who they are, and this is not where we lump people together in cliques and fields and labels. This graduating class is to be commended for both the ways in which they very truly represent themselves as distinct individuals and the way in which they accept each other despite their differences. Clearly, respect plays a part in all this. And like many schools, it is central to our mission to instill in our students a sense of respect. Indeed, this year we have paid particular attention to the meaning of respect. Author Sarah Lawrence Lightfoot says, respect is the tender transfer of power. Respect is commonly and traditionally defined by the status and hierarchy which we tend to be static and impersonal. In contrast, respect properly is a two-way affair, where respect begets respect, and the respect will become respected. As who their favorite teachers are, students across the nation select those teachers who respect them. They insist that they learn, get to know their students, and take them seriously, as is the case, I know, with our faculty. We must remember, too, respecting others comes in large part from respecting ourselves. Now, all of these things are good things, which we certainly seek to promote, and which you, our graduates, certainly exemplify. I'd like to suggest to you that respecting ourselves entails, in addition, a quality of respecting our limits, of knowing ourselves to be human in error and prone, and practicing a humility and a humbleness as we make our way into the world. This is especially important because students like you have the skills and talents that will qualify you to achieve great heights in the positions you will occupy in the world of tomorrow. And it is very likely you will end up managing others in some way, shape, or other, heading up companies, perhaps, or leading a school. As you progress up these ranks, it will be both increasingly difficult for you and increasingly important for you to maintain this form of respecting yourself and recognizing your limitations. The ancient Greeks accomplished so much: literature, philosophy, politics, art, not to mention war. That inevitably they struggled with the problem of not losing their humility. The great motto inscribed on Greece's death of the oracle was "Know thyself," but the best interpretation of it is often left out. It really means know thyself to be not a god. Know thyself to be human, including all the frailty that goes with it. Know thyself to be limited always in our person, perceptive of wisdom. The Greek success about hubris, that our greatest mistakes occur at our moments of greatness. Triumphs, when we lose our self-respect by the definition and commit acts of arrogance that eventually bring us to our knees. Precisely because we have lost that self-knowledge and hence lost our true self-respect, Greek literature and history teach this again. Indeed, what lies at the heart of what we call Greek tragedy is the loss of self-knowledge and the crisis that follows. Our community can be justly proud of our great success, as was the case with the Greeks. It is both a result and an example of our greatness that we too have grappled with how to avoid the tragedy of hubrism, of forgetting we are not gods. Jane Madison wrote, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. And if angels were to govern men, no separation of powers would be required." So graduate, I ask you to become yourselves, respect others by recognizing them as individuals, honoring their demon and valuing them, and strengthen your practice of respect of others by first respecting yourself, appreciating who you are, remembering your limits and your humility, being ever cognizant of your own humanity, and all that entails. I'd like to congratulate you, the graduates of the class of 2015. Tonight, guest host speaker is Dr. Tennant. For as long as he can remember, Dr. Tennant wanted to fulfill his parents' dream that one of their children would become a doctor. The son of Greek immigrants, Dr. Tennant grew up in a tight-knit community in Little Neck, Queens. He developed a sense of pride to his rich heritage, watching his parents maintain Greek traditions with an American community. Around the corner from his family's home was a diner owned by his father when Dr. Tennant and his twin brother worked during their high school years. Dr. Tennant credits his parents for instilling in him respect for education and strong work ethic. Dr. Tennant began his academic career at Delphi, intent on honoring his parents' philosophy. To offset tuition, he worked long hours on the weekends as a waiter and bartender. At the university, he initially pursued chemistry before deciding on biology as a major. Although immersed in sciences, it was a liberal art education he received that had the greatest impact on Dr. Tennant. Today, Dr. Tennant serves as an Associate Director of the Cardiovascular Medicine at NYU Medical Center in Manhattan. He is also Clinical Associate Professor of Medicine at the Joan and Sanford Weill Medical College at Cornell University. In addition to his role as CEO of the Cardiovascular Associates, the largest cardiovascular group in New York. Dr. Tennant was named one of 2009's best doctors by New York Magazine. He attributes his accomplishment professionally and personally to his experience at the university. Despite the demands of his busy career, Dr. Tennant still finds time to stay involved in the Greek community. In 1999, the Council of the City of New York honored Dr. Tennant for his service to the Borough of Queens as the first medical director of the cardiovascular unit at New York Hospital, Queens, and again in 2000 for his work for Greek Independence Day and his services to the community as a Greek American. The American Hellenic Educational Progressive Association honored Dr. Tennant for his excellence in public service, commerce, and Hellenism with the 2009 Academy of Achievement Award in Medicine. Dr. Tennant and his wife live in Manhattan, New York, and have 3 daughters. In his spare time, this former sports columnist for the Delphians still manages to enjoy his passion for athletics, particularly college basketball. It is my honor to present Dr. Tennant.
Well, he knew more about me than I know more about him. He probably spoke to my brother, who gave him all the dirt. But anyway, I must say, it is truly an honor for me to be here tonight. I hate to tell you how many years it's been since I was last here. About 45 or 50 years ago, when we used to play basketball upstairs. And now I can see that some of the graduates are a lot taller than we were, so they probably can read us now. But those are very, very good years. Reverend Fathers, members of the board, faculty, members of the Archdiocese today here, graduates, congratulations. Parents, for all you've done, and for all guests that are here, thank you for inviting me. I would like to share my story, because my story is your story. It's the story of thousands of first and second generation Greek Americans. It's about the same sacrifices, hard work, dreams, and aspirations of our parents. It is about the journey of their offspring that have contributed greatly to the American landscape and society at large. It is your story, one that has yet to be fully developed, but full of hope and promise. My father, who was a great man, came to this country before the Depression, leaving home in then southern Albania, what we call Voiouikios, with a second-grade education. At the age of 12, going to the coal mines in France, to work in the coal mines in France at the age of 12. He arrived there with only the shirt on his back, without any shoes. He frequently would tell me that he had nothing to wear, enduring unbelievable hardship to help support his family back home. Imagine working in the coal mine at the age of 12. I can't fathom how gripping that experience must have been for him. So much so that his last days on this earth, semi-comatose, he was hallucinating in the French language, probably reliving that ordeal. Ultimately, he decided to emigrate to the United States, the great land of hope and opportunity. He was still a very young man, without any knowledge of the English language, without friends or family to greet and accept him, solitary and alone, making his way to Ellis Island, whereupon his last name, Benetis, became Tennant. So, εμείς δεν αμερικανοποίησαμε το όνομα, το κάνουμε στο Ellis Island. Ultimately, he ended up on the Lower East Side, enduring prejudice, economic hardship, and unspeakable challenges. He started working as a dishwasher, eventually opening up a coffee shop, and ultimately a diner in Little Neck, Queens. My mother left her family in southern Albania for Metana Himara in Voglio Epiro during a period of violent civil strife and unrest, escaping in a British submarine with her sister-in-law and 2 children. You see, my mother's brother was assassinated by leftists. He was the regent's physician, killed in cold blood on his way to making a house call. Her other brother was poisoned, her father dying shortly thereafter from undoubtedly his profound grief. My mother spent 2 years in a refugee camp in Bari, Italy, ultimately making her way back to Greece through some kind relatives, only to relive another tragedy, which was the Katorki in Greece. Eventually, making it back, or meeting my father, who at the time was working here in this country, and through an uncle of my mother's that was living here, that had a little proxenio, my father went to Greece, met my mother, married her. He eventually came back, and my mother eventually came to this country when she was 8 months pregnant to my brother and I. Both my brother and I were profoundly affected by our parents' arduous journey. My uncle's untimely assassination literally served as an inspiration for me to follow in his footsteps as a physician. I can vividly remember going back to Greece as a child, a young man, and being introduced as the nephew of the doctor, and how compassionate he was, and how healing he was, and how people spoke of him. I have no doubt that my father's enduring courage was an inspiration to my brother in ascending to the highest levels of government. During his most difficult moments, and he had some very difficult moments, he would always qualify his remarks to me by saying that as bad as his day was, they still weren't as bad as the bad days Dad had. We grew up speaking Greek as a first language, ultimately learning English while attending public school. We saw that the other kids in the neighborhood were speaking English at homes, and that was kind of a surprise to us. Father Constantine Volaitis, in blessed memory, the first parish priest of St. Nicholas of Flushing, one day came to my father's diner, and he said, "John, it's time for the boys to come as older boys. Time to serve in the old." We were 12 years old at that time. 12 years old, that's when my father was working in a coal mine, and we were going to be older boys. And I can't tell you what an experience that was for us. We didn't have a car. My father didn't drive. Nobody in my family drove. So every Sunday, George and I would get on the bus and go to church and serve in the altar. And I can tell you that for us, that was a transforming experience, developing an intimate relationship with our Greek Orthodox faith. Our priest was not only our spiritual father, but our guiding light. I can tell you that we would not be where we were today if it wasn't for Father Volaitis in the church. This odyssey is not unique to me. It is part of the fabric of us all. The circumstances and characters may be different, but the struggles are the same. My parents, your parents, were and are self-reliant, emotionally tough, yet motivated by love and tenderness. A love and tenderness that was inherited from our Greek philokimon, an ethic of care and compassion that was restored to all of us by our great Orthodox faith. And that has been imparted to all of you by the wonderful work and education that occurs here at St. Demetrius. And from the ancient Greeks, we have all been given a certain style of character to be courageous and unflinching in the face of the worst the world will throw out of us. Struggle has always been part of the Greek experience. Certainly modern events tell us that today. Struggle has always been part of our experience. Your parents struggled. My parents struggled. I struggled. You will struggle. But remember, unremarkable lives avoid struggle. A well-lived life involves throwing oneself into struggle. Large parts of the most worthy lives test moral courage and face opposition and ridicule, and those who pursue struggle end up being much happier than those who pursue pleasure. As you prepare to enter college, I would like to refer to you to the American Freshman Survey, which your principal may be familiar with. This was a survey that's been followed by students since 1966. It asks entering freshmen objectives considered to be essential or very important. In 1967, 86% of respondents checked developing a meaningful philosophy of life, more than double who said being very well off financially. Since then, finding meaning and making money have traded places. The first has plummeted to 45%, the second has soared to 82%. I urge you, graduates, to separate yourselves solely from the temptation of investment skills and knowledge that would only increase future earnings. Unfortunately, there has been a distortion in our modern society of higher education's purpose and potential. I personally struggle with this sitting on the board of Adelphi University. College is your singular opportunity to rummage through and luxuriate in ideas, to realize how very large the world is, and to contemplate your desired place in it. When college is more about career than ideas, when paycheck matters more than wisdom, we are doomed as a society. If all you speak is money without values, you will be bankrupt. I am therefore asking all of you to espouse the primary idea of Hellenism, spontaneity of consciousness. That is to say, see things as they really are and explore the excellence and good in the world. The Hellenic spirit is a spirit of flexibility, seeing things as they are, and by seeing them as they are, to see them in their real beauty. This is the simple and attractive ideal which Hellenism holds out before human nature. Lastly, I ask the graduates not to so much to think about choosing a career, but choosing a vocation. A vocation is not a career. A person choosing a career looks for job opportunities and room for advancement. He looks for something that will provide financial and psychological benefits. A person does not choose a vocation. A vocation is a calling. Look at the people in this room. Look at the dedicated teachers. Look at the clergy. Look at the successful business people. Theirs is a vocation. Sometimes we are called to this by indignation, or a Bible verse, or a literary passage. Albert Schweitzer, whom I'm sure you've read about, some time ago, he came upon a biblical passage, and the biblical passage was, "Whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall save it." He knew at that point he was called to give up his very successful career as a musical scholar and go into medicine to become a jungle doctor. A vocation is not about fulfilling your desires or wants. It's not about the pursuit of happiness or the avoidance of struggles or pain. It is not necessarily found by looking within and finding a passion. It is found by looking outside of ourselves and unselfishly asking what life is asking of us. Finally, I just finished reading a wonderful book, and I really would recommend this to some of your senior students. It's been a national bestseller. It's on the New York Times bestseller list, and it's written by David Brooks. And my wife and I had actually the privilege of having seen him introduce the book. And the book is called The Road to Character. At the end of the book, he includes a humility code, which he described as a coherent image of how to live. He mentions several propositions that form this code, and for brevity's sake, I'm only going to mention two. And I quote, "Humility is the greatest virtue. It is an accurate assessment of your own place in the world. It is an awareness that individual talents alone are inadequate to the tasks that are assigned to you. Humility reminds you that you are not the center of the universe, but serve a larger order. Pride, however, is the central vice. It blinds us to our own weaknesses and misleads us into thinking we are better than we are. It makes us more certain and close-minded than we should be. It deludes us into thinking that we are the authors of our own lives. And let's face it, we as Greeks sometimes succumb to this. Because the reality really is that no person can achieve self-mastery on his or her own. Everybody needs redemptive assistance from God, family, friends, ancestors, traditions, and institutions. How fortunate are we to have the assistance of our Greek Orthodox faith, our supportive, loving families, and the enduring Hellenic traditions, all encompassed in this wonderful institution called St. Demetrius. We are ultimately saved by grace. In our weakness and most vulnerable moments, grace floods in. It may come in the form of love from friends and family, from an unexplained stranger, from a teacher or clergyman, but ultimately from God. Christ brings us the humility, love, and uplifting our soul in our darkest moments. We have all witnessed this grace. I have witnessed this grace. We will all continue to depend on it. We are ultimately embraced, and then gratitude fills the soul. My parents, in their struggles, were embraced, and were forever grateful for their traditions, their church, and ultimately this wonderful beacon of hope and opportunity called America. You have been embraced by this wonderful Greek Orthodox community that will always be your platform. My prayer for you all is that gratitude will fill your souls, because Lord knows it has filled mine, and with it, the desire to serve and give back. Δεν ξέρω αν ο κύριος Ανδριώτης θα μου επιτρέψει 2 λεπτά ακόμα, αλλά θα ήθελα να πω και 2 λόγια στα ελληνικά. Πρώτον, ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω όλους. Για μένα είναι μια ιδιαίτερη στιγμή που είμαι εδώ. Είμαι πάρα πολύ περήφανος για όσα έχετε κατορθώσει. Θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω τους γονείς που με τη θυσία τους, με την εργασία τους, με την αγάπη τους δημιουργήσαν αυτά τα παιδιά. Τα θεμέλια είναι σταθερά. Μην ανησυχείτε. Μιλήσαμε στα ελληνικά, μιλήσαμε για ταπεινοφροσύνη και νομίζω αυτό είναι ένα από τα μεγάλα πράγματα της ζωής μας. Μιλήσαμε και για την περηφάνεια, πως η περηφάνεια καμία φορά δεν είναι και τόσο καλό, και μιλήσαμε και για το ρόλο της Ορθοδοξίας στη ζωή μας και στη ζωή μου. Θα ήθελα να σας διαβάσω κάτι για την Ορθοδοξία τη σημερινή. Διότι στη σημερινή εποχή, μάλιστα, καλείται η Ορθοδοξία να αποβεί και πάλι παράγοντας ενότητας των Ελλήνων μεταξύ τους και με τους άλλους λαούς, φορέας ειρήνης και συμπηλήσεως. Καλείται να βοηθήσει στο ξεπέρασμα της κρίσης του καιρού μας, που δεν είναι τόσο οικονομική ή πολιτική, αλλά ηθική και πνευματική, κρίση θεσμών και αξιών. Καλείται να θωρακίσει πνευματικά των λαών μας, διδάσκοντάς του τον ορθό δρόμο του προσανατολισμού, την αρετή και το ήθος. Και είναι σε θέση η Ορθοδοξία να προσφέρει όλα αυτά, διότι η Ορθοδοξία ήταν και είναι η φωνή των Αποστόλων και των Πατέρων, η μία Άγια Καθολική και Αποστολική Εκκλησία με ανανεωτικές δυνάμεις με πλούσιο στοχασμό. Αυτά τα λόγια, φίλοι, που νομίζω παίζουν μεγάλο ρόλο στη σημερινή Ελλάδα και στη σημερινή ζωή μας, δεν είναι δικά μου. Αυτά τα λόγια ήσαν του αείμνηστου Αρχιεπισκόπου Ιακώβη το 1980. Νομίζω πρέπει να τα θυμηθούμε πάνω σε αυτά τα λόγια. Λοιπόν, σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ και σας ευχαριστώ.